Anybody funny at all here?
You're the funny man.
You're the funny man.
What'd you call me? I'm funny to you, am I?
I would be worried if you were behind me with a baseball bat saying that, but
I'm fantastic.
Are you awesome?
The world is always burning on the internet, so I'm good.
Oh, and it's burning quite literally in many places.
That's
and
true.
raining.
Yeah.
It's either burning or raining.
Yeah, right? It's either burning or flooding. Yeah.
Yeah. How are you, Patrick?
I'm wet. My feet are wet. It's raining here.
Yeah, it's a little wet here in New England. But I had a brownout just like half an hour ago.
Oof.
And I thought my computer just went down, but I do have a uninterruptible power supply.
Mm.
It turns out, though, that my monitor is not plugged into that. So my monitor went off, and I'm like, and then it comes back. Just kidding.
It's like when the lights go out and you think you're blind.
Yeah, just for that second.
I guess we'll start with Kiwi Farms. Who wants it?
I'll start with that if you want.
Oh, this is a Schadenfreude. This
Right?
is a Schadenfreude dream.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It absolutely is. Schadenfreude.
This is like finding out that the cancer fairy got cancer.
Cancer fairy.
Oh, that's irony. That's not Schadenfreude. Okay, what is it? What happened?
So Kiwi Farms is a hate group, for lack of a better term, that tries to harass LGBTQ plus people and doxes them and outs them and, makes their life miserable and literally causes people to consider suicide
Some
and have to move away.
Yep.
And they're horrible, horrible, horrible people. And they're crying because their admin got hacked and they got doxed themselves.
Oh my
so
God.
now the internet knows how hard. And I read, when I first saw this on Twitter, I read through the comments, which you're never supposed to do. And it was all just, isn't this ironic?
Right.
Now the doxers got doxed.
Yeah.
And let's talk about doxing. Doxing is when you get your identity is revealed, when somebody publishes your name, your phone number, your address, and they reveal your true identity and you can't hide behind a persona on the internet.
And it's not usually random. It's usually someone who deserves it. Right?
Yeah. Well, it depends. I mean, in this particular case, yeah.
Well, that's not true because, Kiwi Farms, they were doxing people who didn't deserve it.
Right.
So,
okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So they were, and what's funny is, the owner of the site, the head of the site, is either like the best straight man in the world, or he just is so unbelievably uncognizant of his actual role in the universe. He said, it's such a shame that people choose to destroy rather than build.
Right on the internet.
And people are like, this is the most ironic thing anyone has ever said unironically.
Well, and interestingly enough, so this particular site, there's been a massive push, I know, especially in the cybersecurity community, to delegitimize this site. Like, you know what? It should be pulled out of. There's a lot of protections on it. Its hosting should be pulled, whatever, because it literally is just a hate group. What's interesting is Cloudflare. So we all know Cloudflare. They're a company that protects sites from denial of service, from DDoS. And Cloudflare was their provider, protecting them against untold torrents of denial of service. And Cloudflare said, oh, yeah, we looked into what they actually do. Yeah, we're out.
We're not protecting them anymore.
And the moment they pulled out, like, the site gets dropped. Like, I mean, it just goes to show you how really good they are at what they do. Because according to the tech guy at Kiwi Farms, they tried to switch over to another content distribution network / DDoS protection company, and they just weren't as capable as Cloudflare, and everything got ripped apart. The interesting part of this too is, you're right, Patrick, they got doxxed. So imagine all these people who come online to this forum and think they can just,
bully people.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Bully people, and to the point of, causing mental distress and all sorts of other stuff. And they think they can do it with anonymity, right? So they log in, nobody knows where they're coming from, etc. And now the thought is all their usernames and passwords and potentially IP addresses have been released and have been pulled from a hacker. So
there's people on the internet talking about taking this information and notifying their bosses and getting them, explicitly trying to get them fired from their jobs for participating in hate activity. They've been a real thorn to to a lot of people, and it's kind of gone quiet. This is the biggest notoriety they've gotten. So, karma.
And the biggest irony, like as you said, is that they actually had the gall to complain about it.
Yeah.
Right? They're like, people are so mean, right?
I know. Why are you so mean?
Why are you so hurtful? You took my site down.
That's really hurtful. I'm really hurt.
This used to be the domain of, hacktivists that were well known, like Anonymous and Lulzsec and things like that. But what we're seeing now is hacktivism is kind of going grassroots. And we're starting to see, and I really think the thing that uncorked it was the war in Ukraine, because again, Russia was considered the big, you can't cross Russia. If you cross Russia, you're in trouble. And now that facade has fallen away. So there really are no guardrails stopping people from doing things, because there's no big goblin anymore.
Yeah.
And so I think we're going to see a lot more of this. And then we're going to see people who take advantage of this. So their troubles aren't over. They get their site back up.
Right.
Everybody who was in that doxing is still going to be forever connected to this site.
Yeah.
And everyone, and they're going to probably get hacked again, because people aren't going to stop going after them just because they got them once.
Right.
Yeah. And speaking of Russia, Patrick, I saw recently that all of the...
Wouldn't be a show if we didn't speak about Russia.
That's right. All of the ransomware groups and hacking groups in Russia now have, they're either comprised of old ladies or really young kids. Because
all the men are off to war.
Yeah, it's because everybody else got called up.
Not off to war.
Yeah.
Most of them have been. Have you seen a picture of all of the flights leaving Russia?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
And it's all
so
shutting down
so what
borders because
happened
you're getting
there?
called up.
Putin has, or PewDiePie has set up a.
Hey! I think PewDiePie's actually a streamer. You can't use that.
You call me PewDiePie.
Is that a missile coming in?
Tomahawk.
So I don't want to be in the receiving end of those, but what the hell? So he's done a partial mobilization, which is really more like a full mobilization. He's basically saying anybody who has military service, who's between the ages of, I think it's 18 and 67 or something like that, has to serve. Well, that's 300,000 men.
Yeah.
And it technically is all men in those age groups, because you're supposed to serve, all men are supposed to serve in Russia. A lot of them get deferments and stuff.
And they're not happy about it. I overheard one of them say, "This is Bolshevik."
What is this Bolshevik?
What is this Bolshevik?
So this has caused big protests in some of the cities and arrests. I think 3,000 arrests so far. It's caused another wave of emigration. And, the Russians are saying that it's exaggerated, but we don't think it is.
Well, and I'd like to just point out here for the Russian listening population of our podcast here, like I feel bad for a lot of the population in Russia.
Oh, me too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of them they don't support the war. They're in totalitarian regime that you really can't say much against. Right?
They have to toe the line, or else they'll get.
Well, occasionally I feel bad for the people of the United States, and I just blame the government for things. But it's a classic situation. We don't blame the people in most places. We blame their government.
No, and I'm just saying, like, all Russian people are not bad. It's just like you feel bad for these people when they get put in this rock and hard place situation.
I wouldn't want to be there.
Yeah, it's tough.
But when I have to take sides, it's Ukraine. I take sides with Ukraine.
Yes, sir.
Me too.
100%.
Yeah. A lot of Russians are too, apparently.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and it's actually encouraging to see a lot of the protests, honestly. To see them saying, you know what, enough is enough. This is bullshit. We should not be doing these types of things. Hey,
it's Bolshevik.
Hey.
Did you ever watch the show The Good Place?
Yes.
Yeah.
When they can't swear?
Yes.
I thought it was funny for a while, and then it just got, old.
I thought it was good.
My wife says I stopped watching before it got good, but I mean, how many episodes do I have to sit through before it gets
5
good?
seasons. Actually, it gets very good.
Yeah.
It's just you got to put up with it. Anyways,
Ted Danson does awkward really, really well.
Yes, he does.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Second story. Our old friend WordPress. Who's got this one?
I'll talk.
Go
about
ahead,
it.
Dwayne.
All right. So, listen. If you're running WordPress, And you're using
Thank
plugins.
God have mercy on your soul.
And you're using
Well, you
plugins.
You can use it. You just have to pay attention to this stuff. You can't just ignore it. WordPress is the best, set it and forget it that you can't forget.
Yeah.
Because it keeps coming back to bite you if you do.
It's a great point, Patrick. Is this a testament to how easy it is to set up a WordPress website? Where you're like, you know what? It's just like turning on electricity. I flip the switch. I don't need to worry about anything. Like WordPress is that easy where you're like, I could put a website up. Done. Right? But it's not that easy.
Yeah.
It's like if the electricity in your house, every time you flipped it on, you also had to feel the wall to see if it was warm. Just to make sure the wiring was right.
I do that. I do that all the time.
Right.
I'm doing it right now.
It's like you have a security system, and the best way to operate is just hit the off button, and it gives you just the amount of security you deserve.
Just the right amount.
So this is a plugin called WP Gateway.
Yes.
Is this something that everybody uses? Is it like in every app?
No.
But
it's popular.
Yeah.
The thing is, you got to think of it this way. There's a lot. It's like apps. If you found out an app was hacked, you wouldn't say, well, every phone of that style, Android or Apple is vulnerable. No, it's the people who use that app. Well, plugins are like apps for WordPress.
Right. And this particular plugin, what it does is it helps administrators manage the boring tasks of managing a website, backing it up, restoring it, that sort of stuff.
Making it vulnerable to attack.
Right? It's a feature. So, it's unfortunate, but it needs those level of privileges. It needs to be an administrator to do the types of things it's doing. So, it just you need better security there. So, but this particular exploit is what we call a remote code execution. But unfortunately, it's an unauthenticated one. These are the more dangerous ones. So you don't need to have a valid username and password if you hit the site and they're using this plugin and it's an older version. You can get access to the site. So you got to be careful.
No bueno. No es bueno.
Good.
Not good. Well, in my terms, it's awesome. But
okay, so this is one of those ones where we're going to. This is one of those ones we're going to do our 3 questions. Okay.
All right.
So how do you know if you're affected? So if you use WordPress and you have the WP Gateway plugin installed,
you get these red spots on your arm.
Shortness of breath.
So. And what do you do if you're affected? Well, you remove the Gateway plugin from the website until a patch becomes available. Because as of right now, as far as we know, there is no patch available.
Correct.
Right.
And so that's really dangerous. This is one of those shut it off. Like if like Dwayne's electricity thing, if the wall's warm, shut off the electricity again. Because it's not a good sign.
Right.
And then what are the potential consequences? And that's what Dwayne just talked about. It's successful exploitation basically is game over. They have access to a very high privilege system, and they don't need any privileges to access it. So it's not one of those things that the people are going to chain together. Its CVSS score is 9.8, which is pretty high. There's 260,000 systems that we can see on the internet, according to Shodan, that are vulnerable, and it is being seen exploited in the wild. In other words, there are bad people who are actually trying to use this and using it to take control.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So, gotta love it.
Be careful.
Not good. Be careful out there, kids. All right. What's next? Oh, my story. The deepfake audio story. So you know what deepfakes are, right?
I do. I do. But for the listener, what's a deepfake?
Okay, Dwayne, I'm glad you asked. A deepfake is either audio or video that has been generated and, like I guess you could say like Alexa and Siri, those are kind of deepfakes, but they're not really. We know
they're not
it's artificial.
anything.
Yeah, they're not. You're never going to believe that there's a little person in that box, right? So, but a deepfake is made to deceive you. And it started out on a Radio Lab. I heard this story about somebody at Adobe who did a talk at an Adobe conference. And they just took a sample of somebody talking, and they took a paragraph or two of them, and then they called out to the audience. They say, okay, give me a sentence that you'd like this person to say. And they typed it in, and what this software did was find all the phonemes in that person's speech, stitched them together, and made them speak, something. Basically,
and not in a stilted manner.
Yeah, an on-the-fly speech synthesizer using an existing reference, right? And then people went, oh my God, this is horrible. How can we ever, how do you know that my voice isn't a deep fake right now? And then it got even creepier when they showed a video. So they did the same thing with video. They made people say things that they never said.
Yeah. There was a speech by Obama that was completely done by as a deep fake.
Right. And if you go to this Ars Technica article, which is deepfake audio has a tell, and researchers can spot it. If you go down there, there's a great video called "This Is Not Morgan Freeman," a deepfake singularity. And it's basically, it looks like Morgan Freeman. It sounds like Morgan Freeman, but it's not. And he says, I'm not even here. This isn't even me. It's not even a human. He's like talking about it. It's great.
So this is a very disturbing technology.
It is.
Because it's used mostly weaponized against women right now. Unfortunately, it's used in, by weak little people who feel wronged and feel that they need to use technology to hurt people. So there's some people who are very, very upset about the fact that deepfake technology is evolving and don't like any plug of it. So the fact that we're finding a way to detect it, now what we have to do is plug that into all the social media so that they get pulled right away. Unfortunately, I think this is going to be an arms race. I think the tell will eventually be covered up and then we'll need a different tell.
Right.
And it may be a while, but you have to, we're getting to a time when you can't believe what you see and hear.
This is a good article that sort of explains, how it works and how deepfakes works and how this tell works. And I definitely, if anyone's interested, I would definitely go read it. There's a whole video. And
yeah, I think this is going to be a big area is detecting deepfakes in the future, because you have to be on guard, and especially with social engineering. So it's being used in social engineering where you can get a sample of someone's voice. Like you get a sample of my voice doing a presentation or a podcast.
Or this podcast every week. Here's criminal advice.
It's criminal advice.
And then you could call Dwayne and you could type in a conversation or even maybe get something that real time translates your voice to mine and try to convince Dwayne to send money somewhere. But Dwayne has no money. So therefore it won't work.
Right.
Hey, Dwayne, this is Patrick. Send me $1 million. I'm stuck in Siberia.
Again? Fine.
What a charming accent, Carl. Wherever is that from?
I don't know. New Hampshire.
New Hampshire. So so it becomes more important to have a way to understand a background. So understand what you would say, because Dwayne has questions he would ask me. We're not going to reveal them here. If he thought there was anything untoward, or if I asked him to do something that was out of character, he'd say, okay, well, answer this. And he'd ask something from 20 years ago. You kind of need that level of suspicion that a hacker has. And unfortunately, most people don't have it.
So that brings me to a story of something that happened to me actually this week.
Oh, wow.
Somebody created a Carl Franklin Facebook account using my photo, and my name. And then they went to my friends and they messaged them and said, hey, how's it going? And this is totally like, I wouldn't say it's legal, but anyone can do this.
A friend of mine's a 2-star general. He's had the same problem.
Yes, folks.
So anyone can do this. You just go to Facebook and you find somebody, you download their profile picture, you look at their friends, and one at a time you go message them. You create an account basically with the same name. The tell is that you don't have the friends, you don't have the photos, there's nothing about you there, right? So anyway, somebody met a friend of ours, Adam Kogan. You know Adam. Yeah, Adam Kogan was at Troy Hunt's wedding in Australia, and that's where Richard Campbell actually was officiating. I didn't go. But he basically said, hey, is this you? And sent me a picture. Now, I don't know. I haven't talked to Adam in a long, long time. So he asked me these weird questions. He says, like, what's your favorite podcast?
Which is not out of character for Adam.
No, but he's testing me. And I thought he got hacked.
Yeah.
I thought he got hacked, so I didn't answer him. And I said, email me. And he said, I don't think I've ever emailed you. ? And now I'm thinking, all right, he definitely got hacked, but he's testing me. Yeah. So he sends me a WhatsApp and he goes, hey, you there? And what's your favorite podcast? What's your favorite front end these days? He's asking me all these questions.
That's awesome.
And I finally figured out that, yes, it was him, and that I got hacked because somebody else mentioned it to me. And so we were testing each other. So we went back and forth a bit.
That is awesome.
Do you remember
Sparring.
the diner that we went to, when you did an all-nighter at the studio working on a video? And he got it wrong. He's like, was it Denny's? I'm like, no, but it was a diner, But we were testing each other. It was awesome.
That is awesome. Good for him. That's very good.
Yeah, finally I told him his wife's name and his kids' names. And
because he didn't know.
And he told me
He was like,
my
"Thank
wife's
you."
name, my ex-wife's name, who you'd never find out
Yeah.
from Facebook. So yeah.
Yep.
But anyway, that's my
awesome.
story.
Good for you guys.
So
Yeah,
deep
I like it.
fakes, not good. Watch out for them. All right, who's going to take the Python story?
Python, I got it. This one's awesome. This
Okay.
one's awesome.
Aging like a fine wine.
Aging like a fine wine. You think to yourself, listen, there's a lot of really bright developers out there. And if there's a bug that allows you to overwrite any file on a system, they'll figure it out, right? Especially if
know
it's an
about it.
open source library, right?
Yeah.
Of course. That's what open source is all about.
Right.
People
It's all
seeing
about
things.
Many eyes. And then you say to yourself, if they found it out and they created a CVE for it, which is just hey, here's a recommendation for this particular code. Well, all of those developers would go, I should fix my code. I got to go fix my code, right? Well, you'd think that, but in this particular case, that didn't happen. So for the last 15 years, in the Python tar file package,
Okay.
there is the ability to exploit it to overwrite any file on the system. So it allows you to escalate, for example, your privileges on a system that's running this particular Python package.
Wow.
And it has existed in that package since 2007. And there is a CVE for it as well from 2007. So in 2007,
Wow.
they noticed that there was this bug and announced to the world it should be fixed, and nobody actually
And
went
never
into the
fixed
Python
it.
package to fix it. Yeah. Yep.
Oh
You
my
know what the
God.
recommendation right now is?
Don't use Python.
Say hello to the NSA.
Don't use Python. Don't use Python.
Say hello to the NSA because they're listening now.
NSA, no security anymore.
The recommendation is, don't use that library. Sorry, it's really old. That's the recommendation. But according to the researchers who found this, there is approximately 588,840 different unique repositories on GitHub that are using
41
this package right now.
I just added
Right,
one.
but this is an example of it's not that this bug wasn't found in 2007.
It was, right? Yeah.
Just wasn't
So
fixed.
and people just they never got a patch for it. Nobody ever fixed it. And people kept using the package.
Come back to something like an SBOM, which is the, keeping track of all of the different libraries that are used in a particular piece of software. If there was a formalized SBOM process where we said, hey, tell us all the packages that are using, this Python tar file, then you would know, oh yeah, here are all the packages that need to be patched or whatever.
In 14 years, I would predict we will probably find somebody who has a log4j bug that they never fixed, and they just
100%.
didn't.
You
they
are
just didn't-
absolutely
didn't
right.
think about it.
And we'll be recording this from our respective nursing homes.
Here we go. You remember, Patrick, where you said, "Meh."
Well, this is, I mean, if these projects if a project like this did vulnerability assessments on a regular basis, they would keep finding it.
Oh, absolutely. Any of these projects, honestly, any of these projects should have found it with a straight up scanner. Because it's in most scanners at this point.
Wow.
Yeah, for developers, vulnerability assessments are like patching. It's got to be done regularly. Can't be done once at the beginning of the project. It's got to be part of the life cycle.
All right.
Right.
So I got to read the headline for this next one because it's awesome. Rockstar Games blames hacker for major GTA 6 leaks. And the subtitle, the developer is, quote, extremely disappointed, end quote, in the leak.
We are
Extremely
really
disappointed.
sad.
I'm
I mean, honestly, is this bad? This is a lot of free promotion for Grand Theft Auto 6.
I guess
You know, it's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting you say that. I mean, they love to do their reveals and all that other good stuff. So this is it's not a new thing for hackers to try and attack game companies. Dating back to the earliest of Xboxes, back before it was even online, it was just a console. I don't know if you guys remember that. I was in that beta program, which was fun. But, there were hackers who broke into Microsoft and stole the plans for the initial Xbox and started building one on the side so that they could have this Xbox before it even existed. So it's pretty common for attackers and hackers to come in and try and find information about games before they release, hardware platforms before they release, that sort of stuff. The interesting thing about this article is right now, there are claims that the FBI are investigating and all sorts of stuff, and it's still early days on this. But right now, according to Polygon, the hacker who claimed responsibility for the Uber breach, remember we talked about this last week?
Yeah.
So that young kid, quote, I put in air quotes,
Supposedly.
the 18-year-old kid, air quote, who breached Uber is the kid who did this.
Wow.
Actually also broke into Rockstar Games.
That kid needs to have his allowance revoked.
We're taking this criminal's word for it that he's 18.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, exactly. And it's not a hacking syndicate, but and the way when you read some of the between the lines here, they also talk about this being an internal Slack leak. So my guess is they either got access to somebody's Slack or convinced somebody to, multi-factor authenticate them into Slack through a multi-factor push or whatever it may be, because everybody's doing remote access to the office at this point, where we're not requiring people to be in the office. It opens up that surface of attack. And that's how they got in. And we're only able to pull videos because it was the files that were sitting in Slack. So I don't think they had access to the entire network or any of that
No
stuff.
source code or anything like that.
No. Yeah, it's upsetting to GTA, to Rockstar, because they go, well, we love to put our trailers together and we love to have a big announce. And now everybody
and they
already
still
sees what the
can,
game
but
looks
now
like.
they get an extra $15 million worth of PR.
For free.
Yeah.
For nothing. For a little embarrassment.
Sorry.
Cost of a little embarrassment.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. Sorry about that. My bad.
Sorry. that was
literally,
me.
you're bad. You wish you were 18.
Yeah. I'd be in timeout forever.
Forever. My mom would take my computer away.
All right, guys. Shorter show today, but we'll be back next week. I'm going to be recording this from Oslo next week, where I'm going to be at the Norwegian Developers Conference.
Super cool. Literally cool.
Yeah, I know.
Very cool. All right. I'll see you then. We'll talk later.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.